The Sims has had a huge influence on the director of inZOI by his own admission, so it's kind of impossible not to compare them. So just for funsies, I've put my top 7 reasons I think inZOI stands miles apart from The Sims 4, with a few honorable mentions at the end. So with that aside, let's get into it. In no particular order. Number 1, graphics. Are you kidding me? Of course you knew I was going to mention this. It was the first thing we all noticed, right? Our jaws collectively dropped to the ground when we saw these ZOIs and their world. This game is being built with Unreal Engine 5. The details in this immersive world, the ZOIs themselves, the furniture, the textures, it really is unreal. I mean, not to sound crazy, but I love the way the streets and sidewalks actually look worn, like all the little spots and cracks. This looks so realistic. We're in the complete opposite direction of the cartoony look of The Sims. And that's not saying the cartoony look is bad, not at all, but I do love this realistic look. Look at the clothing details on this ZOI. The director K-Jun actually mentioned they collaborated with a designer that works with famous singers for some of these outfits. Very much like The Sims 4, who often collaborates with big designer names, such as Moschino and H&M. Oh, and you know how we're getting weather in this game? Check out this ZOI's clothing getting visibly wet in the rain. You can see the shirt progressively getting soaked. Even her hair is getting wet. But let's go inside, dry off, and take a look at the amazing lighting in this game. I just can't get over how good the lighting effects are. The sun streaming in through these windows and blinds onto the shiny tile floor is so gorgeous. Or the way the sun peeks through the leaves onto the ground. The lighting lends a lot to the atmosphere of this game. But let's move on to after sunset. To nighttime. Oh wow, the shadows look just as amazing. The ambiance at night is stunning. I love all the street lights, the lamps, and lanterns at night. Walking around the city at night is just going to be so beautiful. I can go on forever, but let's move on to number 2, facial capture. Another fun feature is the ability to use facial capture. You can have your ZOI mimic your facial expressions by simply connecting your mobile device's camera. Here you see Memol Kim. He's a popular Korean streamer, utilizing the feature with the director of the game, K-Jun. And I'm definitely not laughing at him, I'm laughing with him here. He was jokingly teasing the director that the program for this was mocking him by not sensing that his eyes were open. I think they're still working on the detection around the eyes a bit more to fix this. Here's another Korean playtester from last year. She got to play around with the facial capture feature as well. You can see how well it follows your expressions. She's heading off to her part-time job as a convenience store employee, which is a career that will be available. She's greeting customers as they come into the store. This is going to be so much fun to play with in the game. Speaking of which, I mentioned this in a previous video, there's the studio building where they have these pre-built sets where you can use for storylines. You can use facial capture here and report the news in a broadcasting station. There's so many fun ways to use this. Hey, VTubers might even want to use this feature. Moving right along to number 3, cars. Yes, we've had carpool show up in past Sims games, but apparently not in Sims 4. But in inZOI, we're going to be able to actually drive these cars around the city. K-Jun himself asked the community pretty much to make the decision. Would you rather have the driving to be autonomous, or would you actually like to have full control of driving in this game? The results were the latter, so we'll be able to actually drive ourselves to locations across the map. They did mention it's not going to be the same experience as GTA 5, so I take it you can't just run over ZOIs on the sidewalks. So don't get too excited, you absolute homicidal mate. I especially cannot wait to drive around Bliss Bay. Cruising around this California-based city is going to be amazing. Another cool feature, we can customize our cars. They put so much detail into this. You can open the trunk even, and you can wash your cars. And as if that wasn't cool enough, convertibles. But wait, there's even more. ZOIs on the sidewalk will actually react to your car if you drive by in a cool convertible. So you can't go on a murder rampage, but you still can get killed by getting run over. So do look both ways when crossing the street, lest you become another statistic. Number 4. AI. Krafton is quite invested in AI. In fact, the company has a dedicated AI division. We'll be able to use AI during character customization. You can generate different patterns or materials for use in your ZOI's clothing. Choose a wood pattern even. Use the scale and offset keys to play around until you have something you like. It seems you can use it for any clothing item. This is going to give us endless fashion options for our ZOIs. AI is not just for clothing, you could also use it for build and furniture mode. Not happy with the current selection of wallpapers? Use AI to select something closer to your aesthetic, or change the design of the bedspread or wall art. You'll have the freedom to design very unique homes with this ability. Number 5. Time. In The Sims, 24 in-game hours is about 24 real-life minutes. You know how fast that actually goes by? Some people enjoy that fast gameplay, so I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but for me personally, it always felt rushed. You couldn't possibly do everything you wanted in a day. With a single sim, this isn't that bad, but once you have a large family, it becomes even more apparent. It suddenly becomes a time management game, which I also love those types of games, but not so much when I'm playing The Sims. Try a morning of juggling a whole family, getting the kids ready for school, feeding the baby, taking care of the adults' needs while getting ready for work. Whew! And later on in the day, after you come home from work at 5 or 6, get dinner ready, have the kids do their homework, get the adult skills up, or whatever task you need for a career advancement. When is there ever time to just go out on the town and enjoy life? Like, it truly makes you reevaluate every second, every decision. Like, did I just waste my entire adulthood cooking this casserole for this ungrateful family? Mom? In inZOI, K-Jun explained they initially had increased the day to be about 43 real-life minutes. He found as he playtested the game over and over again, his ZOI was always late for work, even when he took the subway. There was always this sense of rushing when completing his morning routine and then still making it late to work. So after much playtesting, the inZOI development team came down with what they thought was the perfect balance, which was 96 real-life minutes to play one inZOI day. However, they were concerned this might feel too long for some players, so just like he did with the decision for autonomous versus manual driving, he posed the concern to the community to hear our feedback. Is 96 minutes too long? The stream of responses that came were passionate for a shorter day, but guess what? They were also passionate for a longer day, and many comments suggested to allow the player a slider or toggle to choose whatever they wanted in game settings. So this last suggestion is actually what K-Jun and the development team decided to go with. Even though this is going to be a massive undertaking for them, they are giving us the choice to decide between a shorter 43-minute day or a longer, more relaxed 96-minute day. Which gameplay style will you choose? Let me know in the comments section below. Moving on to number 6, open world. Oh, do you remember the sweet days of Sims 3? Having that beautiful open world experience, being able to walk around the entire neighborhood with no loading screens. And when they gave us World Adventures expansion pack, walking all over France or Egypt or China was such a joy. You were completely immersed in the world. Well, that is until the game started to bog down on itself. There came an eventual choking point in the game where for some PCs, it was nearly impossible to play. Well, Sims 4's solution was of course to have lower polygraphics, giving us a more cartoony look and completely getting rid of open world. And of course it was replaced with, you guessed it, loading screen after loading screen. Now that I do not enjoy. You can't even visit your neighbors without going through a loading screen. Well, what if your neighbors aren't even home right now? They're out on the town. Okay, let's go back to our home. I got a tikka masala TV dinner with my name on it. Hey, don't come at me now, okay? It's not great, but it's still good. Oh, well, whoops, nay. You can't step foot on your front porch until you go through another one of these. Oh, this is worse than an HOA. Well, I'm so thankful that for inZOI, we will take back our open world and the ability to go anywhere within it without the loading screen of torture. The cities seem large, and you'll be able to walk anywhere, drive anywhere, without having your immersion constantly broken by a loading screen and elevator music. Finally, number 7, complex personalities and relationships. According to K-Jun, when creating the template for the ZOI's personality or temperament, they didn't have a lot of references to rely on, so they actually got a lot of the ideas from The Sims. But they also referenced different psychology papers, so there will be additional traits that will give your ZOI more depth. The current list of available traits will constantly be updated as they develop the game and may change in the future. You can choose the traits yourself or have them selected at random. Some traits are only available during puberty, while others become available during adolescence. Besides traits, there are more things to decide on, such as values, preferences, and more. All of these add up to about 300 unique data points that make up your ZOI's complex personality. All NPCs walking around the city, up to 300 of them, are all created with their own unique, randomly generated combinations of these 300 data points, making them way more complex than a sim would be. This will help vary your interactions and relationships. All of these NPCs' datasets will continue to update and change as they interact and develop relationships with other ZOIs. This happens automatically in the background, so your city is alive and evolving. Another thing I thought was really cool is they're working on being able to record the ZOI's personal history. This personal history can have varying information, such as what middle or high school they attended, or even what point they have caused significant trouble. An example K-Jun gave us was, say your ZOI was about to get married, and they wanted to do a little background check on their fiancé first. Well, you can check their personal history and get that information. After all, marriage is a big leap, and you want to make sure you're starting off your family with someone you actually know well, including their past. So I mentioned your ZOI causing significant trouble. There will be a reputation system, kind of like we had in Sims 4. However, this is going to be different. According to the developer, if a bad enough reputation exists, they could potentially be restrained by the police. And if severe enough, they could be taken out of the game, i.e. sent off to jail. And now for some honorable mentions. The time machine. Remember when I mentioned that ZOIs can actually get into accidents and pass away? Well, if you didn't intend to have that kind of tragedy in your storyline, with the time machine, you could bring your ZOI back. From my understanding, the game is constantly making automatic save points, so if something happens that you don't want to be part of your storyline, you can access the time machine and find a save point essentially that you're comfortable with, and just start over from there, hopefully avoiding that same future, and daddy can still come home to his kids. Cultural perspective. inZOI is being developed by a Korean company. As such, they're going to have a different cultural perspective. To start off, we're getting 2 cities that are based on real-world Asian cities, and only one that's based on an American city. So the tides have changed. Since they really wanted to get the American-based city right, they enlisted help from cultural consultants. I assume they'll probably do the same with all the other cities they intend to add, as they want to depict them properly. But if we just focus on Dowon, the city based on Seoul, South Korea, you will find all the things you would expect, such as PC cafes, restaurants serving kimbap, and traditional Korean architecture, even a temple. Also, this new idol career track. K-pop idols are a huge deal in Korea. When did we ever imagine we'd be able to play as a K-pop idol in a life sim? Now all I need is an actor career path so I can live out my K-drama fantasies. Please, inZOI? The sheer amount of content coming with base game. Comparing inZOI's current early access content, or at least what we know so far, to the Sims 4 base game content. I mean, I think you could agree with me here. We're getting so much more with inZOI, it's actually insane. Half the stuff you see in inZOI footage so far, we had to pay extra in the form of expansion packs or stuff packs or kits. Don't get me started with kits. In inZOI, we're getting new features we've never even seen in The Sims, like the ability to change the social stability, control the level of crime in the city, customize clothing to the level of changing the sleeve lengths or the collar to create a completely different style, or you could even change the lengths of hairstyles. Furniture customization, where you could even change the legs of furniture pieces. Here's something new I learned. Dream interpreting is apparently popular in Korea. You can have your ZOI go to a psychic and have their dreams interpreted. And I want you to just visually see all the packs from Sims 4 on one screen. I nearly cried when I compiled this. So many of the packs you see here, like Seasons, Laundry Day, Bust the Dust, there's even one for kitchen appliances. We're getting this with inZOI's early access. EA has divided so much content into packs that I feel should have been included with base game. I mean, doesn't it just make you want to scream? This is just so
unacceptable condition! Unacceptable!
Whew. Anyway, did you see that movie Hangout stuff pack? Like, we're getting a movie projector feature where you can upload your own movies onto it. So you can create your own movie hangout scene with base game. Not to mention drivable cars, endless floor option in build mode, and a whole amusement park with interactable rides. It is startling. I just hope the content is very fleshed out and in-depth. I will caveat this by saying, even though we're getting an obscene amount of content with base game, we still don't know what the future looks like in terms of DLC. The developers have told us that the monetary structure is still undecided, so I just hope there are 0 microtransactions and they stick to expansion packs. I'd rather buy a whole expansion pack than have microtransactions all over the place, which just end up being more expensive anyway. So friends, that was just a few notable differences I wanted to capture in this video, but let me know in the comments section if you're thinking of some other ones, and they don't have to be positive. I'm not abandoning The Sims, and I hope the majority of you aren't either. So see you soon, friends! Enjoy!